Lesson 9 is using technology to represent data, and specifically like dot plots, histograms, box plots, and then also the statistics that you need to make those things. So I'm recording right now. It'll be linked in the slides. I recorded all my lessons. And this needs to be updated. The lesson 9 is actually going to be a puzzle piece that looks something like this. So these are the instructions for my first hour tomorrow. They're going to watch this video and do the notes, and they'll upload it. Only they have to do that because they're going to be the only one with the sub. Anyway, we're going to jump into the lesson. So find where it says warm up. And then you also, for this, will need access to Desmos. So take out your Chromebook, go to desmos.com. From there, I'll show you where to go. Yes. You are going to then click on Graphing Calculator. No more scientific calculator. You need the graphing capabilities. This will be the one that's linked in all your quizzes and on your unit tests. You don't get it for the ACT Aspire, which is your state testing this year, unfortunately. So that's why I strongly recommend you get a graphing calculator, check one out from the bookstore so that you're ready for your state test. You can do all of the same stuff on whatever graphing calculator you own. But what you're going to do is enter the data. Now the data is written in what I call like spreadsheet form. So like we don't really use spreadsheets at this grade. We do in college, but basically this is like data point 1 is 7. Data point 2 is 8. When you're entering your data, this is how you do it. I usually put D for data equals bracket. So brackets like parentheses, but like boxier, right next to the P. And then you're typing in just where it says like under the second column. So like 7, 8, 4, list all those numbers into Desmos. I'll make this bigger so you can see it. But you should have 20 numbers total. So just these values that I'm highlighting is your data. So once you've typed your data into Desmos, and I haven't fully yet, so let me do that right now. It should say like 20 element list because you should have 20 data points. If not, then you must have missed one. Go back and check which one you missed. And for the warm-up, you're going to practice finding the mean, median, IQR, and MAD with this graphing calculator. You can click where it says show keypad on the bottom left of your Desmos screen. And you can click where it says functions and scroll to where it says statistics, because that's the unit that we're on. So we have things like mean, and then you could just type in whatever you called your data set. So I called it D. And it tells me my mean is 8.9. There's other things too, and I'll let you guys try it. There's median, so you could do that. There's quartiles. There's not like an interquartile range button, but you could figure out your quartiles by typing in whatever you called your data set. So I called it D. And since there's 3 quartiles, you need to specify which one you're talking about. So like if I want the interquartile range, what quartiles do I need to figure out? Q3 and Q1. So here's my IQR formula. So if I want the third one, I put D, comma, and then the number 3, and it's telling me my Q3 is 13. You guys do the same for Q1, and then tell me what it is. All right, good. So then I erased it, the 3, now I put 1, it is 5.5. And then you can even use your calculator to do 13 minus 5.5, which is 7.5 for the IQR. So let me fill that in on my warm-up sheet. 7.5 for the IQR. The mean was 8.9. I'll let you guys find the median with that. Don't tell me it yet. Standard deviation we haven't talked about yet in algebra. At least my 5th hour hasn't talked about it yet. And the rest of my classes will have by the time they watch this video. Standard deviation is one of the functions in here under statistics, but notice that there's 2. There's this one, and then there's the one with that looks like this, but with a P at the end. Usually I just find both and I see which one matches my answers because they're very similar numbers. It's hard to tell when you want to just use a sample standard deviation or the population one. Regardless, they're very similar. So in that case, I would put my standard deviation is about, and I'll pick the top one, about 4.3. Okay. So the squigglies mean about. You guys now practice finding the MAD and the median with this graphing technology. Table 2, can you tell me what you got for the median? 8.5. Does anyone get something different? And table 3, tell me what you got for the MAD. 3.6. Okay. So let's see. Very easy to check, especially because I already have my data in Desmos. I just have to click on a different cell. I'll erase some of these. And you could also do this too with your keyboard. I just worry that you'll forget to put the parentheses. You could literally type in median. And you see how it's italicized before I'm done typing it in? That means it doesn't recognize it. But as soon as I type in the whole word, it becomes normal. I put my parentheses. I enter data set D, and yeah, my median is 8.5. I can do the same thing for MAD. It's literally MAD, becomes something that it recognizes, put parentheses, whatever you called your data set, and so it is 3.6. But if you ever forget, it is in the functions menu under statistics. Good there? All right, so now also part of your warm-up, you are going to replace the data point 1 with 25. So go into Desmos, eliminate the 1 and replace it with 25. Which values, mean, median, IQR, standard deviation, or MAD, change? And then write that on your sheet. Here's the ones from before you replaced it. That's the reference. Okay, so table 4, did the mean change? And how did it change? Did it increase or decrease? All right. So you could just put this, or if you want to put what the new mean is, it's going to be a bigger number than 8.9. I know, for example, like I could have told you that without doing the math, but you have a graphing calculator, so you should be able to confirm with it. But 25, replacing my smallest data point with now a data point that is much bigger than the rest of my data, is going to pull the mean up, the average up. That's like having, I don't know, pretend this is like money you have in your wallet every day. If I change that $1 to $25, my average is going up. So there's that. Table 5, did my median change? Oh, yeah. How did it change? It increased. Also expected when you put a number that's much bigger than the rest of your data. Sometimes you have to still confirm them. Then did the IQR change table 1? Okay, do you know if it increased or decreased? I don't actually know, so I will check, but I imagine it would. Because what does IQR measure or tell you about the data? So your options are center or spread. So does IQR tell me a typical value, or does it tell me how spread out my values are? How spread out my values are. So if I'm changing a 1 to now 25, the IQR will probably change because now it's bigger than the rest of the data. But we'll see. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll convert. Now, what about standard deviation, table 2? Did that change? How did it change? All right. And then table 3, what about the math? All right, now if you use, yes? Okay, we'll see. I don't actually know. So we will see. But if you did it with Desmos and you didn't erase from the first time we did it, then it should be really easy to see. So like here it was before. Let me put also the mean in there. I'll even put it in the same order as it is on my paper. So we'll do the mean, the median. Interquartile range isn't as nice. Like I can't just type it in and it tells me. Here's something that a student showed me one year because I told you like you could YouTube anything, how to use Desmos for anything. They typed in stats and then the data name, whatever I called it. And then look, it pulls up my 5-number summary right here. So here's my Q3 and my Q1. And this is my original data set, by the way. So before I've changed anything. So the 13 minus the 5.5, that's my original IQR, standard deviation. I'll just pick the normal one. And then MAD as well. So when I go up here and I find where I put that 1 and I change it to a 25. So right here, changing it to 25, look at all the differences. My mean did increase to 10.1. Median as well, it's now a solid 9. My IQR, let's do the math, Q3 minus Q1. My Q1 changed to 6.5. So my IQR actually decreased. So make sure you make that change. Question so far? Okay, so let's change the IQR. It actually decreased. And then standard deviation increased, right? Went from 4.3 to like 5.2, so it increased. And then the MAD also increased, went from 3.6 to now 4.11. So IQR measures at 50% in the middle, remember? So it could be affected, it could not be, you just have to check. Let me make this look more like a downward arrow. So questions on that warm up? All right, period 5. Sorry if that was like a lot of information at once, but yeah. You guys already know. We'll do lesson 6 tomorrow and you'll already be lesson 6. So moving on. We can also use Desmos to create data displays. So using the same data from the warm-up, hopefully you wrote it down on your paper, otherwise I can scroll back up. But you are going to go back and make that 2501 again. And see what your dot plot, box plot, and histogram look like. So let's do that together actually. So I'm gonna erase everything except my data plot, my data list. I need to go back and change that 25 back to a 1. Should have 20 in my list total, 20 numbers. And look, this is how easy it is to make your data displays. You just type in dot plot, parentheses, whatever you called your data set. And look, it's over here. At the same time, you can also type in histogram of your data point D. I usually center it on the left so that way you could see it better. And then one more box plot, no spaces or anything. And then now you can see it. You can erase some at some time. So like if I just want to look at my box plot, probably want to erase the others. All right, zoom in and out. Practice that on your screen. All right, so observe what happens when we change a 1 into a 25. So starting with just the box plot is what's on my screen. All right, so that 1 we're going to change to a 25. I should still only have 20 data points. How did it change? Did we notice? Maybe you might need to zoom out a little bit so you could see it. But let me even kind of go back and forth. So here it is at 25. Here it is when I go back to 1. What's the difference? Okay, so before when it was just 1, oops, hold on. The left whisker is longer than the right one. When I change it to 25, I guess we're having connection issues right now. Okay, and I keep losing my 1 and my 25. So I'm gonna actually probably put it on the front of my list so that I could not struggle so much. But when it's a 1, it looks like this. Everyone see it? When it's a 25, it looks like this. I have like an extra dot over here. Look what happens if I press like or mess with some of these buttons. So like exclude outliers. Right, essentially we're just playing around with these. So now see what happens when we make it a dot plot. Sorry, let me erase that random B. All right, there it is with when there's a 25. Here it is when that 25 is back to a 1. So like just kind of observe those differences. And then again with your histogram. All right, I like centering it on the left. It's easier to see. When I change that 1 into a 25, look at the difference. Any questions? Play around with like some of these, like right here where it says bin width. Change that. What do you want it to be? Give me a random number. 7. Okay, maybe a smaller number. Okay, let's do 3. Okay, see what happens to my histogram? So I'll go back. Here it is when the bin width was 1. Here it is when it's 3. Are we seeing the difference? So when it's 3, the intervals are getting larger, so I'm getting fewer bars. Make sense? So we're just observing that for right now. You are going to, on your notes on the back side, you have this data. you're going to create a dot plot, box plot, and histogram using Desmos and copy that into your notes. You also will have to copy so this is the back side of your notes now. The question would be, how many books did you read this summer? And the data would be this, so you'll have to put that in your notes. Right, and then you can put dot plot, box plot, histogram using your Desmos graphic calculator. Question at all? Okay. So yeah, I'll check in with you guys in a little bit. If you're having trouble, let me know. After this, the practice for this is a public piece as in school review called but you want to have your notes complete first. All right, so for the notes, this data should have been entered into Desmos. There should be 20 data points total, and it tells you right here, so it's very helpful. And then first we could start with the dot plot. So that's what I did is I typed the word dot plot, no spaces. You don't really need to worry about bin width for dot plot. And you're gonna wanna either zoom in or zoom out to where you can see the data the best. So like if I zoom in more, I could see like more numbers are labeled and so forth so that you can copy it better into your notes. So for the notes that I post online, I'm just gonna take like a little screenshot. And the y-axis is just telling me my frequency, just so you know. But this should be copied into your notes. So that way you have like a reference and then maybe also type in what you would put into Desmos. So like for my dot plot, I literally typed in dot plot into a cell, one word, no spaces, put parentheses, whatever I called my data. So like if I called it D, this is how I entered it into Desmos. Make sense? And then you move on with your box plot. Type it in, no spaces. I don't think I have outliers in this data set, the second one, the one that should be in your notes. So whether you click this or not, it doesn't actually change the box plot. So that you'll want to copy into your notes as well. And then we can see what I would have typed into Desmos might be helpful too. Box plot, parentheses. And then lastly, the histogram. If you want it to look more like the ones that we've seen in class, you'll want to hit left for the bin alignment. So that way it starts at a certain number and ends at a certain number. These are intervals of 1. That's why it says bin width is 1. So if I want to have bigger intervals, like say I want intervals of 3, I click on where it said bin width. And then I type in, maybe I want intervals of 3. Now I have more bars, fewer things to draw. Or maybe I just want intervals of 2. All right, so maybe I'll copy this one into it. Any questions on that process? Okay. So then I'll copy that in. And then I'll write down what I wrote for Desmos so that my notes can actually help me later. And this one had a bin width of 2. So the comma makes the bin width change, or you can just click bin width. And then for the bin width, or the bin alignment, I put left. So I'm going to write that down too. For the statistics, I think I also wanted like your mean, median, IQR, and oh yeah, I think just those 3 for the data. Make sure you have those. I'm just gonna write them in real quick. And then after this, you are uploading your note sheet to Schoology. Only period 1's uploading to Schoology. And then you're working on your puzzle piece. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. All right, so for the last part of the notes, it did want you to find the mean, median, and interquartile range, which we know how to do those by hand, but you're also supposed to practice with the graphing calculator. So here's the data from how many books did you read this summer? Should be 20 data points total. And then I usually call it like data set D for data. And then I just found in my functions menu under statistics, the mean, the median of data set D. Stats is something else that you can type in and then get your 5-number summary, which is great because there's not a function for just IQR. There's not. There's quartiles, you can find the quartiles, but this is also another easy way. It's just to type in stats of data set D, and then we know that IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So 6 minus 1.5, which is 4.5. So that completes the notes. Period 1, make sure you upload it to Schoology for the sub day. You are still required to upload your notes period 1, even if you're absent. You could do it on your own paper. All right, thanks, bye.